Hello. Good morning for all of you that are located in North America, and good afternoon for who is in Europe. Well, first of all, thank you very much for being here, for attending this webinar in which we are going to introduce our new release of Simware. Then, well, I will start with this presentation. I will do a first introduction to Simware and the new feature that in this new version, and after that my colleague José Ramón Martínez will go into more detail about the technical feature in the different package. Well, you have at the end of this presentation, well, we should have a few minutes to answer some question, and then, while you don't have to wait till the end to do a question, you have in your web client for the GoToWebinar platform, you have a panel for question. Well, you can use this panel, or you can also use the chat panel. Then anytime, in any moment that you have a question, ask your question, and we will answer the question at the end of the session. Well, then let's start with the introduction to Simware. Well, first at all, let me start with the requirement that with the chain of requirement that we are having in the last year in the simulation and training market. Here in this slide, well, you have only 3 examples, but you can find many more if you read some magazine or you go to a simulation and training conference. Everyone is demanding open, modular, and interoperable system. The user and the operator don't want to use a stovepipe system that are designed to work as a standalone simulator and that are made with proprietary architecture. Then, well, we need to change as an industry. We need to try to accommodate to this new requirement and this new trend. Then, but what are the stoppers that we have now in order to meet this demand and to fulfill this requirement? Well, the problem is that right now, to try to interoperate, to try to network different simulator is a tough job. Then you see in this this is a summary. For example, in this slide you have the main result of a large study made by the Modeling and Simulation Coordination Office in the US DoD at the end of last decade. That is the LBC Architecture Roadmap Study. And what they say is that, well, that right now about 50% of the cost of doing an integration, doing a federation and integrated solution is or are related with interoperability gaps. And why we have these gaps and this stopper? Because, well, beside to this problem with the proprietary architecture in the simulator, we also have a problem that we don't have integrated architecture that allow us, that provide us, with a common data model, protocol, and mechanisms to distribute the data between the different simulators. And then, consequent of these issues, at the end, what we have is that we are not having the performance and the capabilities that we should have when we put all the simulator in the network. And then because of that, well, one of the recommendations that they made was to try to advance, in the development of integrated architecture and new standard that could support this new integrated architecture. Because what's the real problem? Well, you see here, well, why we need integrated architecture? Because, well, otherwise what we have is what we have now, that is that we are trying to interoperate simulators that are designed as a standalone system that are using a proprietary architecture, and that when we want to go to the network, we choose one specific standard like HLA, DIS, or TINA in the case of the States, and we try to do a gateway to translate the information that is used internally in the simulator to this to the protocol or to the data model that are used in DIS or HLA or TINA. But at the end, everything is depending on the gateway and is depending on how much I can open my simulator in order to exchange data with other systems. Then, well, the new approach should be to go to system of systems simulation platform that can enable a much better interoperability in the simulation system. And in this way, we could create economy of scale, and of course, we will get a bigger return of investment, not only in the acquisition of the simulator, but also in the support of the simulator during his whole life cycle. Well, think about think about this disruption. Think about in a future world of simulation that are working in a system of system federation. Well, if we work in this environment at the end, well, we will changing the business rule, because at the end we were in this new environment, the function of one product is going to be optimized by other systems that are located in the network, and therefore the focus is not going to be in how good is a simulator work as an standalone system, but how can we improve this simulator when we connect this simulator to the network. And then in this case, we will change the basis for competition, because now this basis will be the performance of the system of system instead of the performance of the standalone simulator. Then, well, then because of that, we have developed Simware. Simware is the first simulation platform that is available as a commercial product that allows you to build with a common architecture any kind of simulation solution. Then using Simware, you can build any kind of simulator, virtual, live, or constructing, and also you can use Simware to link everything together into a federation. Well, we talk about Simware as a platform, and then, well, we need to be useful to the two sides of the platform, the two sides of the network, and we are useful for both sides. No, in the case of the end user, well, the enterprises or the government agencies that are buying or are operating simulator, well, the use of an open architecture like the one defined in Simware will allow them to buy open and interoperable integrated solution since the specification. And in the case of the supply chain, the provider, well, the advantage for the provider is not only that they can share a common referent technical architecture with the end user, but also is that Simware itself can help them to build their simulator system much faster, cheaper, and with better capabilities, because Simware is not only an architecture, is as you will see later, is a complete platform full of libraries, tools, middleware, and application that can speed up a lot your development time and your time to market. Well, Simware, well, then right now we are already a referent in many cases. We have presence in 15 countries, more than 40 users located in 3 different continents, and with application well, that are very different. No, we have a sample of using Simware to build a training device, people that is using Simware to build a simulation laboratory, others that are using Simware to provide a test site to integrate a naval combat system, others are using Simware as the simulation platform to experiment with the interoperability between robotic and command and control system. Well, you will see some example later, but well, we have many different applications for Simware right now. Then, well, what is new in Simware 2015? Well, our improvement are basically we can package our improvement in 3 key areas. We have made the platform more open, we have increased our support of standard, and we, as a consequence of that, we are extended the applicability of Simware to many more kind of solution. About openness, well, probably the main feature that is provided with this new version of Simware is that now we have a new web interface. Then now you can use this web interface to connect web clients with simulation made with Simware. And also we have open many of the interfaces that were already in our platform. Then now, as you will see also later with Jose Ramon, you will see that you have available APIs to, for example, to manage the state machine and to manage all the control mechanisms that are into Simware. You have new APIs, a new gateway development kit to make easier the development of gateways with different standards. You have a new API to integrate more easily third-party simulation model in your platform. Well, in the case of a standard, well, you know that till now with Simware 5, that is our last version, then we have been supporting DDS, data distribution services, HLA, and DIS. In this new release, we are improving the support of HLA and DIS. You will see the detail later. But we are also adding new standard. That is a standard related with robotic system like JAWS and with a command and control system like MSDL and CBML. In the case of the web interface, is again an open interface. We are using an open protocol that is called LTI, Learning Tool Interoperability, and well, you will see the detail later. And at last, well, about the applicability of Simware, well, now you will see a new package in Simware that it will allow you to record and replay exercises. You will have the capability to integrate the Simware simulation with e-learning platform. You will be able to embed simulation with live system like a robotic system, for example, to embed a real-time simulator with the real control station of a UAV. You will have leveraging the new web API. You will be able to deploy simulation server in the cloud, and in this way you can provide simulation as a service, and of course, using this API, you will be able to connect with web and mobile application. What about the package? Well, this is the new commercial package in Simware 2015. For those of you that already knows about Simware and that know about Simware 5, well, we have made some changes. No, especially, well, now what we have is the core of the platform is one package that is Simware core, and then around this core we have several extensions. Then, well, the core of the platform is, well, is all that provide you with all that you need to build a real-time distributed simulation. Then what you have is the middleware, the simulation middleware that is based on a publish-subscribe interface that is using a data-centric architecture and that is compliant with HLA and DDS at the same time. In the case of HLA, we provide our own version of an HLA middleware that is we call Simware RTI, and in the case of DDS, we provide in the package, in the commercial package, the community release of OpenSplice. That is one of the main implementation of DDS right now in the market. Beside the middleware, well, with the core, you have, because we are talking about the data-centric architecture, you need some tools to design the data model. This is very important in the case of Simware. And then for that, you have the designer. And to deploy the simulation, we provide also a runtime simulation infrastructure that you will see some detail later with Jose Ramon. Well, the extension, well, are there in order to complete the feature and capabilities provided by the platform. Then, well, you have the Simware web extension that is a new product that allows you to integrate Simware simulation with web client in different ways. You will see later. We have the record and play extension that at the end is a recorder capability. You have a server that can collect and store the simulation data when you are running an exercise, and then when you finish the exercise, you can replay the exercise using the same server. When you have the request to integrate or to interoperate your simulator with other components or systems that are using other standards, like HLA, DIS, JAWS, a real system that is talking DDS, data distribution service directly, or a command and control system talking CVML, well, in this case, you will need to do a gateway. Well, all the gateways features are included in our Simware LBC extension. In order to do the simulation model, well, you can develop this simulation model directly using the core, using the C++ APIs that are in the core product, or you can decide to or complement this C++ development using Simulink models. Then in this case, you will need the Sim Developer tool. The Sim Developer tool is a customization of the Simulink environment, and then in this way you can use Simulink to develop, to integrate, and to test all your simulation model. And then when you have finished this integration and this testing, you can generate the code that is going to be compliant with the platform. And at last, but not less important, well, in the case that you want to deploy the simulation made with the core to an HLA network, well, you have a free version of our RTI already included in the core product that is well, the feature is a complete version. We only have one limitation that is restricted to federation up to 4 federates. If you want to go to a large large federation, then you will need the professional version of our RTI, that is the RTI Pro. Then, well, to finish my part of the presentation, let me give you an insight about how you can use the different licenses when you are working in a simulation project. And then, well, and you will see that you have a lot of flexibility to invest only in what you need in each moment. Then, well, in this example, what we have is that, well, you start with the development of a training device, and then, well, in this case, well, you can work only with the core product. Your development team will only need the core. Well, then you deploy, you deliver your simulator, and then a few months later, well, your customer can go to you and say, well, I will need to update my simulator because I want to qualify my simulator as a flight training device, and then I need to upgrade the simulation model with an engineering data package provided by the manufacturer. Then in this case, well, nowadays it's usual that the manufacturer can provide the data package in Simulink format. Then in this case, well, you don't need to, well, the architecture of your simulator is still valid, the platform, the runtime infrastructure is still valid. You only need to go to Sim Developer and to use this data package, go into Simulink, modify, and integrate this data package into your simulation host. Then, well, after that, because you are with these new capabilities as a flight training device, then the customer can also want to have an after action review capability because they want to install a debriefing run. Then in this case, again, everything is valid in your simulator. You only need to spend in the new capability, and in this case, you will need only the record and play extension. After that, well, you have a new requirement and say, well, now I need that you integrate your simulator distractor station with a new training management system that I'm installing in my training center. And then, well, and this management system is based on an e-learning platform. Again, well, everything is valid in your simulator. You don't need to modify your simulator. You only need to add a new capability using the Simware web extension. And at the end, well, you can have a final requirement, that is to say, well, now we are adding to the simulation center a new simulator for training air traffic controller, and then I would like the customer would like to have the option to train together the pilot and the traffic controller. Again, in this case, well, you only have to ask the customer, well, what is the standard that is the traffic management simulator using, and say, well, we are using HLA, then, well, then it's not a problem. We can go to Simware LBC and we can do the gateway to integrate both simulator. And also is your choice. In this case, you can decide to use other RTI like Mac or Pitch, or you can decide also to deploy this HLA network using our own middleware, our own our RTI Pro. Okay, and well, this is one example about how you can use the different product in different moment, and then, well, with in a very flexible way. And after that, well, well, Jose Ramon will continue with the presentation, showing the main technical feature of the different package.
Okay, thank you, Jose Maria. Let me. Okay.
Muted.
Okay. So this is the main technical features and examples. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Jose Ramon Martinez. Okay, so let's start with what is now in the Simware core. In Simware core, we have all the tools for creating and managing the core of the simulation. What is the core of the architecture of Simware? First thing we have is Simware Sim API. Simware Sim API combined with the Simware metadata model allows you to access to DDS or HLA with the same API. Also, we have what we have called Simware Designer. These are the tools for designing your simulation from data. Also, we have Simware Runtime Infrastructure. These tools are related with how you can manage the simulation you have built with our architecture. Simware Sim API is a very, very simple API with just 10 lines of code. You can connect to a simulation and create all the publishers and subscribers you need. The publishers and subscribers are pre-made using the data model with our tools. And at the end, with the same API, you can connect to different things like, for example, DDS or HLA, HLA 13, HLA 15, 16 from Mac or from Pitch. The complexity, the how to connect, the use of the APIs, everything is hidden for the final user. So with the same API, with the same code, you can run in sometimes a federate in HLA or sometimes a participant in DDS, just with the same source code. Well, Simware Designer, the idea is that we have put together also all the tools related with how we deal with the data model. As you may know, our architecture is pure data-centric. So here we have the tools for building the simulation from the data model. We start with a form data model or with a blank data model if you want. And with the modeler tool, we generate the library that contains all the publishers and all the subscribers for using this data model. Additionally, we also have the tool called GPGUI that is an auxiliary tool for creating the panels for the final user interface. At the end, the user will have an interface to decide to create the objects, the participant, the entities in the simulation. With that tool, we create the panels of the initial conditions for these entities. In Simware Runtime Infrastructure, we have two sets of tools. All of them are related to how we manage the application or how we manage the architecture of Simware. One side we have STL, which is something new, and I will talk about that in a moment, and ACS. ACS is just a console for the user for controlling the simulation. It's just a place where the user can say, okay, start, stop, now create this element, now delete that element. STL is a library, and we will see that now, for creating your own version of this console. On the other hand, we have Scheduler and Sim Engine. Scheduler and Sim Engine are real-time scheduler for controlling the simulation, for controlling the simulation models that you can create with Simware. Well, this is the most interesting part. What is new in this version of Simware 2015? Well, the first thing is what we have called Simware Control Library. The idea is that now we have a library, a DLL and SO, that gives you an API for creating your own version of the user console. With that library, you can incorporate, for example, the functionality, the control of the simulation of Simware inside your own tool or build your own tool for doing that. Also take into account that we provide in the installation with all the dependencies for building source code we provide, and also we provide the environmental variables and the CMake for creating any solution. I mean, we guarantee that you can, in Windows or in Linux, create a project in your compiler, in the compiler you choose, and you can compile it without any problem. And this means that you can very easily incorporate the control of the Simware simulation inside, for example, your own tool or inside your own panels of control. Of course, this can be used in a lot of different applications, DI simulator, web applications, C2, etc. In the latest version, we incorporate the doxygen of this application. Well, this comes from the product. This is part of the installation of the product, and it's just the doxygen of the library. The doxygen is the description of the classes and methods of the API. It's a typical way of documenting the source code. Well, we have a lot of classes, but the most important is that one, Simware control. And here we have all the methods you need for creating initial conditions, getting instance, deleting instance, changing the state machine, setting the state machine, loading scenarios, saving scenarios. That is everything you need for controlling and managing the Simware architecture. Well, other feature that is new is the Simware web extension. We have created a new way of connecting web systems with simulation, with Simware. For doing that, we have incorporated an external standard that is called LTI. LTI is a standard that has been created by e-learning rich applications group, and the idea is connecting rich learning applications with external tools. For example, you can have your typical web course, Coursera, and you can launch an application and have a great back to you. So we are using this architecture, this standard, for providing simulation as a server to your website. Indeed, this is modeling and simulation as a service. Well, as a typical use case that is included in the product, we have the e-learning inclusion. We have examples of how to add simulation to e-learning. For example, you have the typical SCORM-based course for piloting a flight, for changing the pieces of a car. And now, with this technology, you can add a simulation made on the fly as part of the course you are providing. And you can have a great back for it. Let me show you. Well, in this first example, we will see an e-learning application that is going to create a web example of the use of a robot, of a UAV. The idea is that we are using here the same instructions that a real robot using JAWS, which is one of the standards of robotics, will use. Well, first thing, we have to start the server, the intermediate between Simware Wall and LTI. It's just a script we call. And now we can go to any website, here or remote. If we are using a web server, can be remote, and connect to our pre-made course. Well, for doing that, we are using something that is called Moodle, but this is really not important. The idea is that if you can use LTI technology, and for example, by using Moodle you can use it, by using Android you can use it, then you can connect to our simulation? Well, we have created a course here. We log in here. This could be any SCORM application, for example. And now we have to make something for passing the course. By the way, also we can incorporate here, and this is very interesting, a recording, a live recording of anything. We will see later that we have a new recorder, and we can incorporate the recording as a tutorial of this lesson also. Well, in this case, it's a very simple example. We are going to launch a console that mimics the behavior of a UAV, and you have to move the motors of the UAV to reach a certain position. As a result, you can have a great bug. Of course, this is simulation under demand. This can be anywhere. Well, we started. Now we can move the controls. And the idea is that we have to move the UAV to a certain position. Well, at the end, we are going to have a great bug. Second example we can see here is using something that is incorporated with the Simware installation that is called SimSapes. SimSapes is a typical example of the creation of publishers and subscribers. Well, we start the server again, the same. And now we start our course on the website. We log in as a pupil or as an administrator in this case, but could be any pupil. And now we launch the exercise. The exercise in this case is we are going to launch Saves example. We are going to load automatically in a scenario. And the user has to make an action that is has to create 5 squares in less than 30 seconds. It's a very simple example. Take into account that this in Shapes is not something that has been pre-created. It's something that is made using the tools of the installation of Simware on the fly and under demand. This means that this could be any other thing. This means also that this can connect with the rest of the things that Simware already integrates. For example, with external codes like BBS2 or Presagis. Well, in this case, we launch the example. Now, the simulation is created remotely and comes to us. So we are providing the user with that 2 elements. We start the simulation. And by starting, we load 2 circles. We will see that in a moment. And the idea is that we have 30 seconds to create 5 squares that come from a circle. And we have to make that creating 1 square each 2 seconds. The exercise can be anything, and the grade can be anything you wish. So we have 3, 4 squares, 5 squares, and now we have a grade back, which is 68. Okay. What else do we have? We have what is called Simware Recorder and Player. It's a real-time recorder and player. It has all the features that you expect in such tools. For example, you can put bookmarks, you can go to a certain point in time, you can persist things into a database and transport them from one site to another, things like that. Very importantly, we also provide a remote web interface for the recorder. What we have at the end here is a server that is connecting with DDS. And this server can be used in 2 different ways. One, which is the traditional Simware way, is opening a Simware GUI-based tool, and a standard tool used as a recorder. And the other is using, again, LTI technology. So this means that we can record from a website, or we can record from any device compatible with LTI technology. For example, Android. For example, a cell phone. Well, the server creates on the fly a database. Here we have the recording. In this case, we're going to record again the SAPES example. This comes with the product. We are going to start it. And now we are going to start the recording. For doing that, we start first the server. The server has with different versions. One version for standard clients and the other version for LTI clients. By the way, in the product, in the installation, we provide you with the three clients, the three possible clients. The GUI client, the LTI web client, and also a non-web LTI client, which is the one we will see here. You can use these examples or create your own version of them if you want. In this case, we are going to start the LTI non-web client. This is a client that uses LTI, but is not based on web. Here in this client, well, we can, for example, decide what we want to record. We can decide the frequency of the recording, the objects to record, what we want to replay. We can filter in the replay. And now it's a matter of starting to record, in this case, everything. So we go to the control window, configuration panel, we send that configuration to the server, and now we can start recording with this configuration into a file. We started, and now we are listening to everything related with the objects and interactions we have decided to record. For example, if we create a circle, we can see this circle being created in the tool. Okay. The same with the squares. We can fetch the information in a moment to know what is happening. We create, for example, a square. We can see the creation of interaction in the graphical area also. And at the end, we can play back this thing. We are recording objects and interactions, so we don't need the state machine anymore. We can play it back without a state machine. So we can stop the state machine, and we can play it back the same. We have a client. We will subscribe here to circles and squares. And by playing it back, we will reproduce what we have made in real time. So we start. Of course, we can jump to any cycle. We can create timestamps. We can create timestamps even when replaying, by the way. For example, now we can create it. Any name. And we can see that we are replaying what we have recorded before. We are going to create a square in a moment. Well, this is the LTI non-web client. Well, more things. Well, we have what we call Gateway Development Kit. The idea is that we already had PowerLink to create gateways with between HLA and DDS. And now we have extended this thing. We have expanded this thing to a Gateway Development Kit. Why? Because we have had a lot of projects where we have to connect with different architectures with standards like CBML, like JAWS, like, for example, Persagis BAPS. So at the end, we have decided to create a new product that is this idea of the creation of the gateways using PowerLink extended to any application using a C++ API. Well, we will see that in a moment. Also, we have changed and added Simware API by adding, in this case, HLA evolve. And finally, we have added a new library for using the control PDUs of DIS. Gateway Development Kit. Well, the idea is that, okay, we can create easily gateways between DDS and HLA. We have our multi-layer library that make that things very, very easy. And we can make the same with any C++ API of any tool. For example, we can do the same with BAPS. And here we have an example of the use of BAPS. Well, this is part of a bigger demo. So at the beginning, we are going to start an HLA server. We are starting an HLA server because the idea of the demo, because the idea of the demo was connecting to a stage at the end. So we start this server, the HLA server. We now start a gateway. In this case, it's a traditional gateway made by PowerLink between DDS and HLA. And then we start the integration. We have created some models in Simware for piloting a plane, a very simple plane. And in BAPS, we have created a control panel with the typical instruments. And the idea is that we have integrated this panel created with BAPS with Simware Sim using our development kit. So now we can control the plane from this panel, and the behavior is calculated by Simware. Well, also this is transmitted to HLA because the idea is at the end seeing that plane flying in stage. So we start the gateway. We can see that we have a federate in the federation right now. And now we start the main core of the demo, that is scheduler, sim engine, the logic of the plane, and also two big interfaces, one of them made with BAPS. This is the interface made with BAP. Well, this is a handmade interface for controlling. By the way, this handmade interface has been made using STL, the Simware control library. So here we can see the controls of a typical plane. All these controls can be changed. It's a touch screen if you want. We can change the throttle, the mix, the pitch, the vertical control, lateral control, etc. This has been made with BAPS. And this is already connected with Simware. So now we can go to our panel. This panel has been made with STL. And now for example, we can say, okay, let's go to the coordinates of Frankfurt, to this position, and let's start the simulation. So we can press on start, and now we can see the controls moving and the plane flying. And the same can be made, for example, and has been made, this is important because it's not theoretical, but it's reality, with JAWS or CVML or any other tool. Well, this control library is a new library we have added, and the idea here is that we have added control PDUs of DIS. In DIS, we have a stop freeze PDU and a start resume PDU. The idea is that now you can use these PDUs to control the simulation from DIS. For example, I can show you a small demo. Well, this demo is part of a bigger demo also. The idea here is we are going to start Simware Lab with two domains and a stage. In Simware Lab, the two domains are connected together using HLA. And we are going to start one of the two domains by hand. We are going to go to one console and say, okay, start it. We are going to start the missiles, the weapons console in this case. Also, we are going to connect stage. The idea of connecting a stage here is that a stage is going to connect using both HLA and DIS at the same time. Well, we can go to the server, in this case, to HLA, to Simware RTI, to see the federation. We can see that we have two federates. And now we are going to stage. We can see here, and this is important, we have started one of the two domains, but the other is not started. And now in stage we are going to load a scenario and launch this scenario connecting at the same time using DIS and HLA. DIS will be used for starting and stopping the simulation using this library I mentioned. And HLA will be used for the creation and interaction of the entities. So now we say to stage, okay, use HLA and DIS. We press on play, and we can see that now the Simware site is going to start automatically using these PDUs. Now, for example, we can create an element, and this element is going to be interacting in a stage, in this case, using HLA. So this is an example of the use of this PDU, of this new library of the control PDUs, and how we can mix that together at the same time with HLA, for example. Now we create a helicopter, we can, I don't know, launch a missile, interact, etc., etc. Well, this is part of a bigger demo that can be very, very complex. Well, other new thing in Simware 2015, virtual vehicle repositories. The idea is that we already have Sim Developer with the concept of models as assets. And now we have added the our own repository of models. We have these medium and high quality fidelity models, and we are providing it to you. And the idea is that you can use these models, reuse these models, work with these models, test these models inside Sim Developer, MATLAB, Simulink, and use them as a base of new developments. Well, finally, in HLA, we already have Simware RTI, and now we have started to add the integration of HLA Evolve. This is not yet finished, and now we are we have created two of the main services of HLA Evolve, and also what is called the modular forms of HLA Evolve. Okay.
Unmuted.
So now, Jose Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your turn to finish.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. Well, let me. You are no. You have no. This is your screen. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then only just to finish the presentation. Well, our release plan. Well, would you see here? What is our plan? Right now, we already have the Simware core, the record and play. We have also the first set of repositories for Sim Developer with unmanned vehicles, with a simulation model for unmanned vehicle, for ground, air, and naval unmanned vehicle. And we also have in Simware LBC the improved version of PowerLink, with the improved support to DIS and HLA, included this DIS control library that allows you to control remotely a Simware simulation. On July, we will release the Simware web extension. We will release the Gateway Development Kit in Simware LBC. And also we will release another package of block set in Simulink related to weapon and military system. And on September we will release the last block of the last batch of model in the virtual vehicle repository, and we will release the HLA Evolved API in our RTI Pro. Well, beside that we have changed the son of the package, well, the terms and conditions are the same that used to be till now with Simware 5. You can buy subscription or permanent licenses. All the licenses in cloud, they support the first year, and of course, well, if you are involved in a non-commercial project because it's an R&D project or you are an academic organization, well, you can have also some discount. But well, and please go to the next slide, Jose Ramon.
Yes.
Okay, and then well, then just to finish, and then and to give some time to a few questions, to answer some questions. Then well, this is only an introduction to Simware. Well, we will start. We are planning now some technical webinar that we will go in detail about the technical feature in the different packages, and also we'll go in detail about how to use Simware in different use cases. And then, well, we will start with this plan on July. We will announce this plan in our website, and also, well, we will do a mailing, no, for those of you that want to join us in this webinar. And of course, well, you can also follow us in our website that, well, we will update it with this new release, or on LinkedIn, Slicer, and also in our channel in YouTube. In fact, in YouTube, while we are recording this presentation, and we will upload this presentation, this webinar to YouTube, our YouTube channel. And well, and we have a couple of minutes to answer some questions. Well, let me see. Yeah, well, then, I see here one question that, well, is related. Can you go back to the former slide? Yes. Yeah, well, it's about the release plan. Yeah, well, one attendee now is asking about that, well, that's specifically, well, about the Simware web extension, that, well, that if he can have access to this web extension before July. Well, in the case of all the products that are not going to be released now, well, we are still in the final process of debugging and document everything, but, well, we already have a beta release that we can provide to those of you that can be interested in try, this new extension before we do the public release. Then, well, if some of you is interested in some of the products that are going to be released on July or after summer on September, well, please ask us about its availability, and well, and we will try to incorporate you to our as a beta tester, or you can work with some example or some prototype. But, well, we will try to give you a beta license to start to use this extension, before they are released. And well, I think that's it. Well, we are just in time. Then, well, there are not more questions. Then, well, well, again, thank you very much for your time. I expect that this time has been useful for you. And then, well, any question that you can have, please contact us, and we will try to answer to your question as soon as possible. Okay, then, well, then have a good day, and well, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.